Hi, welcome to my progress tutorial of making the Anna cape and mini cape. This is what I'm referring to as the mini cape, or you can call it a shawl if you wish. Now, to save you all a headache, and as a nice person as I am, I'm going to suggest using a different liner for your cape. You'll see me later on in the tutorial lining it with this red sort of chiffony crepe stuff, which was really bad in the end because it actually started to catch onto the wool fabric of the outer cape material that I'm using, and it started to pull the cape up from the bottom, so it's caused a few issues. But I would recommend using this polyester lining that we used on the bodice instead of using something like this, because then at least it just slips away from the fabric and it doesn't keep catching on to the wool. This is of course if you're using a wool or a felt for your cape. Enjoy! This is the fabric I bought for my cape and mini cape shawl. I bought about 3 meters, and I'll just explain where I got it from. Okay, I got the wool fabric off eBay. It was called Gorgeous Cerise Pink Boiled Wool Dress Fabric. 50% polyester, 30% wool. Bought from this place. Unfortunately, I believe he's only got about 2 meters left, so, and I don't know if he would be able to get any more in, so you'd have to ask. But that's where I got it from. This is my cape pattern piece. If you're wondering what this bit is here, this is the neckline, and the cape actually starts further in towards the shoulder. This will become a seam, which you'll see later on, so basically you'll be joining that piece to that piece. Okay, if you remember from the pattern piece earlier, we had this slit here. What we have to do technically is join the two together to create a seam, which is what I've done here. This is my lining for my cloak. Now, because the fabric wasn't wide enough, I've had to do it in 2 halves, which won't matter too much because it's on the inside. And basically I'll be doing a sewing line that curves round where you can see the curve of these needles, and then you'll come just down here, so that when it opens out you'll have a nice little seam there. And the reason why we're doing a seam at the shoulders is to give it an extra bit of shaping, and so it moulds round the shape of the shoulder itself and makes it sit a little bit better on you. Okay, just showing a little tip here, because silly me, I sewed all the way in a straight line to the end there. To make it curve around the shoulder a bit more, you want to still follow that line where you started, but make sure that you curve it downwards rather than following that line that's just above my thumb there. So that's basically what you're aiming to do, and you also need to do this on your outer fabric as well. Okay, if you've sewn it right, it should look something like this. And there is the shoulder seam coming downwards. Okay, we are going to work on the design on the cape and the mini shawl. Cape, go around here and down here. Okay, originally we were going to start off by doing this line and then work from there and then do this pattern, but we've just discovered we haven't got enough thread to do this, so we're just going to jump a stage ahead and we're doing the scallops. here, just this bit where my finger is. As you can see, the pattern at the bottom edge here where my finger is actually curves around with the curve of the capes. So to get that curve, I'm going to be using this dark burgundy coloured felt, and we've anchored the cape down and we're just outlining the pins, so this will be the curve that will follow the curve on the cape. You can now see our outlines of pins, which is outline the line of the cape. This will be our curve that we need. Now, because this cape is being lined, as you can see, we marked the edge of the cape, and as you know, when we do a seam you lose at least a centimetre or more off it, depending how much seam allowance you want. So what we're going to do is mark our seam allowance, so from the edge of the cape you'll lose the centimetre, and then of course you've got the zigzag line, and then another centimetre after that is where I'm going to start my pattern. So I'm looking at about 3 centimetres in before the curve at the bottom of the scalloped edge starts. Okay, you can just see where I've marked with a pen, 3 centimetres in from the edge of the pins. This line will be where you eventually cut. Okay, next we drew this paper pattern so that we could pin it round, and then I've got something to cut around. We did try marking it with a piece of chalk, but it turns out chalk and felt don't go very well together. So we decided to go for this option instead. Next, what I've done is I've pinned my trim onto the cape, and if you remember earlier I've marked it with white chalk. That was for the 1 centimetre seam allowance. We want this edge to start 3 centimetres from this edge. So I've been measuring all the way around to make sure that this edge here is 3 centimetres to there, because eventually you'll be losing that much off your seam when it's lined, and then we'll be having our zigzag pattern here. What I'm going to do now is glue it down. Now I tried a couple of glues, fabric glue, which was okay, and then I found this one from John's Tones Plexi Glue, and it's specially for styrofoam, felt, fabric, foil, glitter crafts, and I found this one is extremely good for felt, and it's stronger than the fabric glue. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue this right down onto my cape. I've only done 1/2 for now. And because I've had to do this in 2 halves, I'm not going to glue the last couple of inches down, so I can match up my other side a bit better when I come to it. So you'll want to mark the halfway point of your cape at the back. This is where I am with the cape at the moment.
This is what the motif looks like on all the scalloped edges. It's a pair of leaves with a small ball in the middle, and we've made each one of these 1.5 centimetres long, and I programmed that into my embroidery machine and worked out altogether that I shall have to make about 150 of them. This is the back of the felt, and using a ruler I marked a line about 1/2 centimetre underneath each motif, and the top of the semicircle should be about a centimetre over. Luckily I had a little bottle cap that I was able to use to draw my semicircles, and now they've all got to be cut out ready for sticking.
These are what the little motifs look like after I've cut them out, and then I'm going to stick them on with the same glue.
For the zigzag stitch along the edge, we've decided to do the triple stitch on our sewing machine, and I'll just show you what the settings are there. Set the width to the widest, number 5, and then if you have this type of machine with the different stitches on, you're going to choose stretch stitch number 13, which is in the purple zone. And then for the stretch stitch setting, I've set it halfway, and that should give you that sort of stitch, but always practice first before you actually put it onto your cape.
Okay, next I'm lining my cape. The inside of Anna's cape is a deep red. I'm using this very lightweight crepey polyester stuff, just slightly thicker than chiffon. You don't want it too heavy because the wool is quite thick. Put your good side to good side and just sew in line all the way around it, a good distance. I've sewn on this side so I can see the zigzag stitches I did, because I want at least a centimetre between there, and this is where it would be turned inside out after. But as I've already sewn that, and I've started from the seam here, we leave this bit open around the back of the neck. So from one seam to the other seam and then stop. I've now got to go around and clip all my curves with the scissors, then turn it inside out and give it a press with the iron.